Every director who dares to adapt for the screen asks himself one question: how the hell do you honor the source material? How do you stay true to it? A lot of these adaptations you see are usually bashed on the internet for not following the book or for doing something that wasn't there at all. Well, this is what Guillermo has to say about it.
Adapting is like marrying a widow. You respect the late husband's memory, but you gotta get it on.
Guillermo del Toro first watched James Whale's Frankenstein when he was 7, and instead of being scared like a normal kid, he got obsessed. He said multiple times that the creature basically became his Bible. And that makes sense. Guillermo has always been drawn to characters who are rejected, misunderstood, or labeled as monsters before they even get a chance. This idea followed him persistently, shaping the way he looked at stories, monsters, and humanity itself. As he grew older, his obsession did too. He surrounded himself with these monsters. For reference, this is an actual photo of his living room. The man has basically been living with this movie in his head for decades. It's the movie he's kind of been preparing for since childhood. If you look at his filmography, you start noticing it. Throughout his career, you can see him slowly building towards Frankenstein.
It's a quest that if you see, every movie I have has it.
Yeah.
From Kronos to Pinocchio, Frankenstein is in every damn movie, or it's a dress rehearsal with Crimson Peak, or there's this or that.
Guillermo himself has said that he did Pinocchio as practice for Frankenstein, which is true. Pinocchio was him figuring out the tone, tenderness, and how to tell a story about a creation that never asked to be born. Or as Guillermo puts it, Pinocchio and the Frankenstein monster are two sides of the same coin. So what happens when the director who has surrounded himself with one particular idea for all his life gets the chance to retell a story that has been told a million times before for a $120 million budget? As much as it is a monster story, Del Toro interprets Shelley's novel as a story about parenthood, not gothic horror, not science fiction, which is insane because Frankenstein is known to be the first science fiction novel in recorded history. He often talks about Mary Shelley's own grief, how she had a newborn who died before she could even name him. Del Toro believes that's why the creature in the novel has no name. The namelessness is grief made literal. It's loss that never learned to speak, and that thread quietly shapes his whole adaptation. Del Toro's Frankenstein feels like it was made for this exact moment in time. He's mentioned in interviews that every Frankenstein adaptation reflects the era in which it was made. That's part of what makes revisiting the story now so fascinating. We live in a world where AI is slowly taking over, so the question of what it means to be human feels urgent. Guillermo taps into that. From the beginning, he knew he wanted to approach the book differently. He described it as a kind of he said, she said story, showing the events from both Victor's and the creator's perspectives. That dual perspective isn't something most previous adaptations have attempted, and it adds depth and fairness to the story, forcing the audience to question who is really the monster, which of course is the main theme of the story. Visually, he wanted the film to feel alive and modern, not a dusty period piece. When Shelley wrote Frankenstein in 1818, it was not a period piece, it was a modern book, which is why the film, though set in the 1800s, feels modern. He built the entire film around natural lighting, inspired by oil paintings. You can literally pause the film anywhere, and it looks like a painting. These connections aren't just there to make the film look pretty, of course. They bear the responsibility of conveying the narrative symbolically. Caravaggio's influence is everywhere. Harsh beams of light cutting into darkness, faces half drowned in shadows, bodies illuminated like confessions. Caravaggio used light as a moral weapon, revealing guilt, exposing vulnerability. In Frankenstein, this becomes a visual metaphor for creation without consent. Velázquez painted people with extraordinary empathy. Kings, dwarves, outcasts, all treated with the same quiet dignity. Del Toro uses that sensibility for the creature. Wide, still compositions where he's framed not as a monster, but as a being, observed with tenderness rather than fear. These references are all over the film. When Victor first meets Harlander, Harlander calls him Prometheus and warns him to hold his fire before delivering it, which is exactly what happens when Victor burns down the lab. Fire itself is a symbol here. It often represents both destruction and knowledge. The creature is drawn to it, but it also burns him, just like human curiosity and ambition can bring both enlightenment and harm. Del Toro also plays with mirrors and reflections. Many key shots show characters looking at themselves or being reflected in unexpected ways, emphasizing duality. Victor sees the creature as his responsibility, yet also as a threat. In some twisted way, they're one. The production designer, Tamara Deverell, built Victor's lab inside a circular Scottish water tower. It instantly became a character. a visual expression of the movie's ideas: marble, machinery, Gothic angles, and a huge round window that felt like it could contain the world or swallow it whole. Every choice reflected the cycle of creation and destruction, life and death. When the set was complete, Tamara famously went in and said, "It's alive." I think you have to give Mia Goth a separate segment when talking about Frankenstein. Her performance in this was absolutely phenomenal. I'll be honest, I was one of those guys who didn't know Mia played both Victor's mom and his love interest in the movie. But boy, what a great directorial choice. Victor's mother is the only source of unconditional affection he had ever experienced. When she died, that warmth disappeared from his life forever. By having Mia Goth play both roles, Del Toro is sort of doubling down on the inner want of the character. Victor spends the rest of his life chasing the feeling he lost the day his mother died. Not the literal woman, the feeling, the comfort, the safety. He keeps trying to resurrect his mother in every woman he meets. So the double casting becomes a visual metaphor for how grief shapes desire. It visually ties Victor and the creature together without needing a single line of dialogue. Both of them end up drawn to the same face, but for completely different reasons. And that repetition makes the whole thing feel like a tragic cycle neither of them can escape. Del Toro stays largely true to Mary Shelley's novel throughout the film, except for the ending. In the book, the creature never forgives Victor. It's a tragic conclusion where Victor dies and the creature continues to live in despair. Del Toro's ending, however, is more optimistic. The creature chooses to forgive his creator. But why? Nothing Victor did in his life truly earned his forgiveness. He took every joy from the creature's life, and in return gave him eternal suffering. I think there is no clear answer to this. It might come from the fact that in this version, the creature is not a monster, but a human being. Forgiveness here becomes liberation. The creature steps outside the cycle of pain and embraces the full spectrum of his existence, even the suffering. Not everyone agrees with that choice, and that's fine. The film invites debate, but it gives the story a strange, human kind of hope. Some viewers feel the forgiveness comes too soon, or that the creature's shift from rage to grace feels unearned. These criticisms are valid. When violence and trauma are sanitized, or when pain concludes with a sunrise and a handshake, some of the story's impact inevitably dulls. But it gives new meaning to it. Del Toro's Frankenstein is a tale of hope, a tale of forgiveness, and above all, a tale of enduring humanity. That even in the face of unimaginable suffering, we can choose to break the cycle and embrace life as it is. When Del Toro finally wrapped shooting on Frankenstein, he admitted feeling something he called postpartum depression and celebration at the same time. After decades of imagining every angle, drawing every sketch, and obsessing over every detail, the film finally existed. And it hit him with a mix of joy and emptiness. It was more like saying goodbye to a part of himself he'd carried since he was a kid. Watching it, you realize the movie is not about a monster. It's about all of us. Lost, searching for recognition, craving gentleness. Life leaves us misplaced sometimes. But the courage to forgive, to feel, and to keep reaching out, that's what makes us human. Guess I'll see you at the movies.